This is the Undefeated Sports Network. Sport Court, and Court is in session.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a new edition of Sport Court. It has been a minute. My boy Tarbill joins me tonight. Tarbill, how are you?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me on. As you said, it's been a minute since we've got to sit down and chalk up some sports together.
Hell yeah, it's like, what, 2 months, I think?
Yeah, a lot's been going on since we last did a show. You know, it's a little tough with family things sometimes. And then obviously, you know, I'm big in football centered and there hasn't been a lot of football news as of late. So
I'm pretty sure we haven't done a show. I haven't done a show since Game 3 when the Bulls and the Bucks played.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And then I think you guys did. I think you guys did a draft recap show.
That we did.
And that, I think, was the very last episode we streamed. So it's nice to be back. Like you said, man, life falls in the way sometimes, and we're not getting paid big bucks to be doing this. So sometimes jobs and family have to come first in terms of, you know, what our priorities are for this.
Oh, absolutely agreed. But yeah, it feels good to be back, man. Glad to be back on the air and getting to talk some interesting topics. There's a lot that's been unveiled over the last few days. There have been a lot of, well, to be blatantly honest, there have been a lot of sexual allegations going on. Obviously,
kind of everywhere, right? Like hockey had it with the Blackhawks, football with Deshaun Watson. What else you got? Vince McMahon.
Right.
A lot of pervy people in this world.
Yeah, a lot of not so good news going on there on that front. But we've got some fun things to talk about tonight too. We're going to get into our 3 favorite sports movies, which, as I can see by the clips that you have, we'll share with the group. We at least agreed on one of them.
Nice. So, well, good. I think when we get to that segment, I'm going to guess which one we agree on. But
yeah, we're just going to talk a little bit of everything, guys.
Yeah.
It's been a while, as Angelo said, since we got to do this. So let's get right into it, man. And first and foremost, I want to just do a quick recap of the NBA Finals. How crazy was that last game of the series?
So I think that whole finals was kind of weird, right? Like it started off, the Celtics were hot and everyone was like, oh, the Celtics are going to steamroll. And then like all of a sudden Golden State just did what Golden State does. And they just put up points and played smart basketball. And
so
Jason Tatum doesn't show up. Al Horford doesn't show up, and the Celtics go down.
Al Horford's retiring.
Is he?
I believe so.
I mean, he should after those.
I saw speculation. I don't know if it's confirmed, but the highlight of the series for me actually had nothing to do with the games. Rather, there was a YouTube streamer who dressed up as Klay Thompson.
Oh yeah.
Made it all the way onto the court to shoot around with the team. Did you see this?
I did, yeah. What's his name? Big Dogs or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know the guy. I don't follow any of his content normally, but I thought it was tremendous to see that, you know, hey, this guy dressed up as Klay Thompson and not a single security guard said, show me some ID, show me some credentials.
Yeah.
They just let him go all the way.
He went from the parking lot through security, just like all through the arena, and then went out and started shooting.
He asked the security where the players park. Like that should have been red flag number 1. If he's not a rookie, he's been in this league for a long time.
Klay Thompson, like
why is he asking where to park at his home arena? But that's beside the point.
Right,
Either way, it was funny. But no, in all seriousness, this series was a little bit shocking, like you said. You know, Jason Tatum's a very streaky player in my opinion, and he's young. He's got a lot to develop still, and I think he's going to be a great player one day. I just don't think he's quite there yet in terms of development. I think he needs to develop a little bit more. Nothing wrong with that, but finals basketball is just such a different animal, man. I mean, you see these guys who in the regular season just ball out, get shut down consistently.
Yeah, because the defense is so much tighter than nobody in the
they only play
NBA games, right? Nobody plays defense in regular season NBA games,
and so that's a sad thing from my perspective. I've always said, and I've been a very vocal podcaster in that opinion, that defense needs to be more structured in the NBA, and you know, bring back the old school defensive mindset where, you know, it's like the Pippen rule, or I'm sorry, the Jordan rules that the Pistons had back in the day.
Right.
And, you know, just bully people. Like that bully brand of basketball was so dynamic and so fun to watch at the time. Obviously it was players were more prone to injuries and things like that. But I mean, now guys are spraining their ankle and they're out for an entire season.
Some guys don't even get hit and they flop to the floor.
Right.
LeBron James. Well, yeah. But then during that, what was it, the last game or game? It might have been game 5.
Game 5, yeah. I know exactly what you're
where
talking about.
he didn't even get touched and he acted like he got just annihilated. The NBA has become kind of lackluster, man. Like,
yeah,
all the playoffs, except for maybe like 2 or 3 games were like real nail biter games. But once the first round was over, it was just like one team would win by 20 points, and the next night the following team would win by 20 points. It was just
and it shows
crazy.
you the competition gap that exists in the NBA. Like,
absolutely,
obviously, you have to be a very skilled basketball player to make it to the NBA. I don't think anyone would dispute that. But in terms of, you know, the average guy versus the top tier talent, that ceiling is so far. And, you know, you look at a guy like Steph Curry, who one may argue is the best. I would say he's one of the best for sure shooters of all time. And just the talent that's there. I mean, it frustrated me. I believe it was game 4. Steve Kerr took the starters out with like 2 minutes left in the game, and they were down by 12 points. It's like 12 points with a team that shoots the 3 as well as you do, and 2 minutes on the clock is a lot of time. Why are you giving up on this team, essentially? And obviously they came back and won the series, so that decision didn't bite them, but
it could
have if they would have, you know,
because after that game, I genuinely thought like, yo, the Celtics might have the Warriors number.
Yeah, I thought they had a chance there early in the series for sure. Like up until game 5, really, I was thinking, okay, this could go either way. And then I was kind of crossing my fingers, hoping that it would go to a game 7, just because I love a 7-game finals. But either way, I think
best 2 words in sports, man, are game 7.
We got the outcome that we ultimately kind of everyone expected.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
It was definitely Boston's series to win. They were the underdog, and unfortunately, Golden State just proved to be a little too much. Now, that being said, that's going to be a very, very good team here in 3 to 4 years.
What, the Celtics?
Yeah.
No. Oh, yeah. I mean, the Celtics are always kind of in the mix, though, recently. You know what I mean?
And they're always.
You got a guy like Jason Tatum, who, like you said, he's still developing. And then you got a guy like Jaylen Brown. Who else they got on that team? Marcus Smart. Yeah. They had a couple of young guys that were showing some flashes during the playoffs, but
it's really about consistency when you get to that level, unfortunately. And I just don't think that we saw enough out of that team collectively.
I feel like this playoff run in the NBA was real 3-point happy. Like, I know that's where the NBA is going. But like there were some games where both teams were just completely terrible at shooting the 3, and they refused to like do anything other than rotate the ball, pop a 3,
drive the lane, for God's sake, drive the lane.
That's what they tell a cold shooter. Get an easy bucket to get you going, and they just like, oh, no easy buckets for us.
And that's to your point there. It's like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are both phenomenal scorers at the rim. I mean,
Yes.
use that. I get you can shoot the three ball. That's great. But when it's not working, it's not working. Go away from it and go to something else. And in that case, drive the lane, get a quick, easy layup, get a dunk, get your confidence back, kind of get that swagger going. And then 2 or 3 possessions later, try another 3.
Right.
Don't just try to shoot your way out of a cold streak, because then it's going to get in your head and you're not going to make anything.
Exactly. And that's really, especially this last the finals, it was just, there was games where both teams started off real slow with the 3, and then after halftime it picked up a little bit, but
right.
I was not impressed with the playoffs this year. Now, maybe it's because the Bulls went out right away, but
yeah,
even when the Bulls weren't in the playoffs, I was still engaged in some of the games. But like,
right,
the finals were definitely not a must-see. Like, if I missed part of the game, I wasn't going to be disappointed. Whereas like years past, I'd be like, oh, well, I got to make sure I'm home by this time to make sure I'm watching the game.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it was the lack of like storyline around the game, because most of the time it's like LeBron versus who, you know what I mean?
right.
And maybe because LeBron's such a good villain that it adds more dramatics to the finals, because people want to see him lose. Because I don't think anybody really, other than people who don't like the Warriors, I don't think people were really rooting for either team to win or lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was rooting for Phoenix after the Bulls went out. I thought it would have been cool to see Chris Paul get a championship. I think he's a player that, although he doesn't have one, definitely deserves to get one. And unfortunately, I don't know that it's in the cards with the exit that they made this year. But
yeah, they looked rough.
That was Phoenix was the only team that I was really hoping would win, and they weren't able to get it done there in the end. So I don't know. I didn't have a horse in the race. One question for you here. Obviously, us both being Chicago Bulls fans.
Yep.
The Jordan years are always going to hold a special place in our heart, but how about that 07 series against the Celtics?
With Joakim Noah?
Yeah.
Dude. Game 7, Joakim Noah came out roaring. That's the roar game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's the roar game.
Yeah, it man. That I want anybody out there who does professional painting, I will pay to have a picture of that made. I want it. That game was so intense.
Yeah, I think you've actually brought that up before. I think that would be a really cool backdrop for sure. But no, I mean, just going back to that and thinking, even the non-Bulls fans were such engaged in that series just because the competition level, and that to me is really like one of the most memorable finals or the most memorable playoff runs that I've seen in recent years. I'm not a LeBron James fan. I've been very vocal about that over the last couple of years that we've been doing pods together, and that's never going to change for me. LeBron wants to now go to Golden State, which I find hilarious. It's like, how much more bandwagon jumping can you do before the end of your career?
Right, like at one point in time, obviously people wanted to go play with him. He's the best player. You know?
Now he wants to go play with people, and they don't want him. I mean,
Golden State doesn't need him.
Some of the Golden State players came out and said, like, how is he going to fit into this offense, first of all?
He's so ball dominant. And that offense works because you move the ball and the guys get open to shoot.
Interesting topic that I heard today. I believe it was on Carmen and Yurko over on ESPN 1000. Does Steve Kerr retire here in the next few years?
If he wins 2 more, I bet you he does for sure. I mean, there's a good opportunity for them to win it again next year. That's because it's the same team that's coming back.
Right. And Steve Kerr, obviously, again, as a Bulls fan, you know, I always revert to the video of The Last Dance where he's talking in the park after the last finals win, and he tells people, "Oh, Michael said I'm not really comfortable in shooting in these situations, so I said, oh, I guess I got to bail Michael out again." And, you know, just that joking, like, fun, charismatic mannerism that Steve Kerr always has. and carried himself with as a player and now as a coach. Like, Steve Kerr is an excellent influence on his players, and I think he drives the correct amount of leadership that's needed
I agree.
for a team like that, especially with such good players. I mean, you've got Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, or I'm sorry, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. I've got Durant on my brain. Those two right there are just phenomenal basketball players, and it can't get much better than that. Like, you've got an ideal situation and you're coaching at a high level. So what's the end all be all there? Is it to win one more? Is it to win two more? Who knows? But
well, I mean, so think of the great coaches in the NBA, right? You got Phil Jackson, obviously. You think of
the greatest NBA coach of all time.
Who else? Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra. I even put up there because, like, and people are like, oh well, you know, Phil had Michael and Scotty, and then Shaq and Kobe, but he also had Kobe and Pau Gasol. You know what I mean? And he made that a championship team,
right?
So I mean, it's not his fault that Michael ended up on the Bulls and his team.
So wild thought process here, and I know it would never happen, but the question at hand: did Jerry Reinsdorf make the wrong move in rehiring Tony La Russa when he should have really rehired Phil Jackson?
I don't know, man. You mean like right now? I think Phil's too cool right now. I think he wants to just hang out on a beach, smoke a doobie,
I think you're right.
Just like do yoga. I'm pretty sure that's all he wants to do.
That is all he's
Tony
doing.
La Russa needed somebody to get him out of a car.
No, as much as I love basketball, though, transitioning to baseball just a little bit. Grandpa Tony, a lot of Sox fans are frustrated with this guy. He came out, I think it was last week. He came out at Scott Merkin in the
during the post game.
Scott is someone who's an industry professional, very respectful to coaches and players in the questions he asks. One of the best to do it for MLB, in my opinion. And for Tony to just blatantly, disrespectfully comment the way he did, like
he's some kind of scrub, you know,
right.
Like he's been around that organization for a while,
right? And not only that, but it's like, Tony said something along the lines of, well, do you know what he hits in this situation? Yeah. And it's like, no.
Do you know?
It was 0-2. Do you understand? Right. Do you understand what you just did?
So, like, I don't want to defend the move because everybody who watches Chicago sports knows the move. The ball got away. Guy on first goes to second, base open, right?
Right.
I mean, the guy had 2 strikes. I'd take my chances with at least one in the dirt, right? Try to get him to swing at something instead of just intentionally walk him. But, you know, I don't make $100 million a year to coach a team.
I'm not Tony La Russa, who was caught taking a nap in 2011 in the St. Louis Cardinals dugout, but let's bring him back in 2022. He's in rare form, folks. No, but all seriousness, man, switching over to baseball a little bit. So there was that issue with Tony. A lot of Sox fans are unhappy with him. I went to the Crosstown game. I don't know if I got to tell you this.
You did not.
But I went to one of the Crosstown Classic games on the 31st of May, Sunday afternoon. Me, my fiance's grandpa, his brother, all went out. Had some beers at Shy Sox Bar and Grill before the game. Went into the stadium, had a terrific time. I haven't been to Guaranteed Rate since it became Guaranteed Rate. It's been probably 06, 07 was the last time I've been to that side of town, as I'm a Cubs fan. So it was a good experience. A lot's changed in the area since I've last been to that park, and it's definitely a place I would go back to watch another game. I'm not one of those Cubs fans that implicitly hate the White Sox. I've personally never understood that mentality. Like,
my dad's one of those guys.
I'm a fan of Chicago sports at the end of the day, and
I mean, it does.
I favor the Cubs. Obviously, I'm a Cubs fan. I don't own any Sox gear, but if somebody walked up to me and asked me if I wanted to go to a Sox game, I would go. I'm not gonna
especially because they're putting out a better product. I mean, it's not that
Right.
much better right now, but they're at least looking like a baseball team, whereas
So
the Cubs are
yeah,
kind of just
the
awful.
Cubs look like a AAA team, right?
Yeah.
Honestly,
That's being generous of you.
exactly. Like the Cubs are going out here and throwing beach balls. They've got position players coming into games late throwing 43-mile-an-hour curveballs. It's
I think
atrocious.
Schwindel didn't he or Wisdom, one of the two pitched like three times in like 5 games or something like that.
Schwindel.
Yeah, Schwindel. That's
who I
insane.
was talking about throwing the 43-mile-an-hour lollipop. But
And it's just got taken. That dude just crunched it.
Some people have the opinion that it's cool to see position players pitch and it's fun, it's light and lively, but I wish baseball would implement a mercy rule. Like if a team's getting slaughtered 10-0, send them home.
Right.
There's nothing else that I need to see here. That would be especially useful for the Cubs because I hate to say it, but that organization's letting their fan base down, man.
Hell yeah. I was listening to Cap and J Hood today, and Cap was 100% right. Like, you look at teams like the Yankees right now, right? They're the best team in baseball, hands down. They're just rolling.
Absolutely.
But they
They
never
hit the
have
ball better than anyone.
right. Yeah, they're killing it right now. I mean, Judge is in the conversation to break the home run record. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's how
Crazy.
effective he's being, and he's going to test free agency next year.
And he doesn't do steroids. Well,
we don't know.
allegedly.
But like teams like the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Red Sox, you never see this, oh, hey, we're going to suck for 2 or 3 years just to rebuild the farm system, and then we'll be competitive. Like,
no.
Why do Cubs fans have to deal with this shit? This is the second time in 10 years.
It's the Chicago sports curse, Angie. I mean, better than anybody else. It's the same thing being a Bears fan. Why have the Bears never had a franchise quarterback until Justin Fields?
Yeah.
Yes, that bold statement. I did just call Justin Fields a franchise quarterback, but
hey, man, that spot is reserved for Jay Cutler until somebody dethrones him. Cutler is my favorite
sad to say that smoking Jay Cutler is the most successful Bears quarterback of all time. Like,
yeah, that really shows you. And his record was a complete. I think he was 58-58 was his final stat
I believe
line,
you're right.
wins and losses. So
Clear
he
500.
literally was the most average quarterback you could have, but he was the best quarterback in Bears history
never had.
Right.
But dialing it back into baseball, yeah, it's the Cubs, man. The farm system, as you said, has to be redeveloped every few years, and I don't understand it. A lot of it's bad trades, in my opinion. And you look at the guys that we dealt last year, especially Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, and Anthony Rizzo. Those guys are all off to a pretty good start. Bryant's been dealing with some lingering injuries and stuff, but Rizzo's having a pretty damn good season. Better than the guy we've got at first base right now.
Yeah.
No disrespect to any of the players.
Like,
on
I
the
don't
Cubs
think
roster,
it was.
but
I don't think it was unwarranted to move on from those guys, but I think they should have did it a year sooner.
And got more for them. Yes, that was what I was
without
trying to
a
reel
doubt.
it back
Like,
to.
Javi this year has been awful.
Yeah, that he has. But Riz has looked pretty good this season, and he hit a home run in the last series the Cubs played him, and he smiled at the entire team. And it's like, yeah, I get it. It was time to move on. It was time for a change, but
half that team isn't even the team that he played with.
Right.
Like,
And
there's like one
Riz-
guy left, or 2 guys left. I'm pretty
Riz
sure.
would have been a guy that you could have got to take the hometown deal, I think, if you really pushed it and pursued it. And his leadership in the locker room, I think, outweighs. He's a fine first baseman, but his leadership in the locker room far outweighs the contract discussions. If I would have kept any of those 3, it would have been Riz.
Right.
And like you said, you didn't move on from any of them a year sooner when you should have.
Right.
At that point, I think you should have at least kept one, just for a leadership perspective for all these young guys. But I don't know. I mean, it's hindsight's 2020, right? We can all say, "Oh, look at how this guy's doing now."
Yeah, but
our guy, friend of the show and longtime friend of ours, Alan Bratcher, it was the right move to trade them all. The rebuild will be worth it.
Yeah, I hope the rebuild will be worth it. We got lucky. Imagine if the Cubs don't win in 16, right? Then what? then they didn't
Then-
win. Then all that talent was wasted. Maybe
Then
they would have been
04
more
is the
hungry.
best memory we have. Like,
Right. I mean, and I understand, having to retool an organization, but the Cubs right now are just a complete landslide, and they're doing dumb things.
right.
Like we talked about leadership, right? They got rid of
Yeah.
Anthony Rizzo, but kept Jason Hayward. Like I
Right.
understand Hayward's contract is difficult, but like at
But-
this point in the season, I would much rather have Anthony Rizzo than Jason Hayward and just take the hit on that contract.
Yeah, but that's the problem is nobody was going to absorb that monstrous, ridiculous
Right.
contract that they gave Jason Hayward. Jason Hayward's not as bad as everyone gives him credit for. Like, he gets a lot of ridicule from fans, but at the end of the day, he's an average hitter and he's an average fielder. He's not a bad player. The problem is they paid him too much money, but you can't fault the player for that at the end of the day.
No, I mean, right. He took the offer that was given to him. So you can't be mad at him.
Right.
And Allen's also right on this. They should cut him. I agree. But like I said, if you were going to cut him, I would much rather have cut him, taken the loss either way on that salary, and had Anthony Rizzo with this Cubs team for the next 4 years. And I know
Yeah.
Rizzo, he battled injuries and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, like you said, that leadership, Anthony Rizzo was brought to this team and they were awful. And
Yes.
he endured
all of it.
being awful. Maybe that's why they let him go, because they didn't want him to go through that twice. But like
Wishful
was
thinking
the
for
first-
the organization to care about a player like that, but
right, because if I'm thinking correctly, I believe he was like the first real piece that they brought in. You know what I mean?
he was one of the first
From
for real.
Boston.
Yes, and as much as I hate to say it, the Cubs are going to be lackluster here for at least another season. It's going to take some time to fill this farm system and get
and then
guys
they're going to get rid
brought
of
up.
Wilson Contreras this year.
They do not say that. You don't.
I don't
get-
want them to. I
you
love
don't
Contreras.
get rid of Wilson Contreras.
Nope.
If you do, you have nothing. What are you building this team around if you
Yeah.
have no pieces to build around? That's my point.
100%. And people that go to these Cubs games, they know they're not cheap. So you're going to these games and spending, $80 on parking, $150, $200
Right.
on a ticket, plus food, plus any souvenirs you want. Like, I get it. You're expecting to pay money when you go to a sporting event, but when the
To
when the
watch your
product is
team
as
get
terrible,
pummeled?
right? Like, I want to take my kids to a Cubs game this year, but it's like, man, can I justify dropping, $500, $600, $700?
$500,
Right. Because I live in Wisconsin, so I got to drive down there. So now
Yeah,
with
you gotta
gas,
pay fuel, pay
right,
to
with gas
stay,
as much as it
everything,
is,
so-
it's
And that's even for me, man. I've gone to more games at Wrigley than I can count in my life, and I haven't been to a game this season. One of my colleagues at work had season bleacher seats, and don't get me wrong, it's just bleachers, but it's still season seats, and they gave them up because they were just appalled with the product that this Cubs team is putting out.
yeah. No,
And I get it. There's going to be lows from every perspective in every sport, but we deal with way too many freaking lows here as Chicago sports fans. That's all I can say.
Let's think
that.
about it, right? Blackhawks, what are they in the middle of? A rebuild, right?
Yep.
The Chicago Cubs, the middle of a rebuild. The Chicago Bears, the middle of a rebuild. At the price of gas right now, horse and buggy does not sound that bad. So 3 of the Chicago sports teams right now are in a full-fledged rebuild.
Right.
3 of the 5. That's
No.
terrible. That's awful.
Yeah, but you can't. The Hawks gave us enough, man. At the end
They
of the
did.
day, the Hawks gave us enough. They've earned the right to rebuild. The
right.
Bears
This
have not
Cubs
earned
team,
the right to rebuild. This Cubs team gave us one World Series, and I tell you what, I will never forget where I was when the Cubs got that final out.
bro, I should
because
just send Alan the link and let him jump on with us
I
and talk.
was listening to the Cubs game on the radio, right? I was working second shift at the time, and I had been standing in the break room for probably an hour after my shift ended watching the game. And I finally was like, all right, I had to go pick my fiance up from work in a town over, so I'm listening to the game, going down a 65-mile-an-hour highway, doing probably 75, and I had to pull over and stop so I could just scream because I was so happy that the Cubs finally won it. And it's one of the best sports moments ever, honestly.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, geez, where was I? I was at a bar in Oshkosh called The Bar, oddly enough.
There were 3 other people there because you live in Wisconsin, and no one you know.
Actually, there were a couple Brewers fans there that were being kind of assholes, like, "Oh, the Cubs suck, the Cubs suck." But my the bartender was a Cubs fan, so we were there. And then when the Cubs won, she downloaded the Go Cubs Go to the jukebox just so we could jam out and
That's
enjoy.
Awesome.
I cried. Great. My dad. So, if you don't mind me going off here on a little bit of the Cubs World Series. So my dad and I didn't get a chance to watch any of the World Series together. He's like, all right, it's game 7. I'll meet you out, right? The Cubs already have a lead at this point. I think it was 4. They had 4 runs already. And then my dad shows up at the bar, and all of a sudden that lead starts to dwindle. And then in the 9th inning, when Raji Davis hits that home run, my dad turns to me and goes, I shouldn't have got out of my spot. I was set there. I've changed all the mojo of this game. I'm going home. Then the rain delay happened. He texts me. He goes, "I just got home. What's going on?"
I gotta hold you there. You mentioned the rain delay.
Yeah.
Our guy Greg Braggs with the famous sign that made it on ESPN.
That's right.
What if 108 years of drought could be washed away by 15 minutes of rain? Or,
bro, what a good sign, right? Fabulous
absolutely.
Sign. And that night was wild. I called my grandpa, and he was, he's a little Mexican Hispanic man with a thick accent, and he was just going crazy. And it was just, the Cubs gave me that, but
I saw a video you shared recently of your grandpa listening to, I believe it was Soulja Boy.
Yeah, it was at all right. I'll tell this story real quick.
Go ahead.
We don't really have no plan for this show. It was just my grandparents, they live in Arizona, right? My grandpa's late 70s. My grandma's late 70s as well. He drives from Arizona up here. It's like a 3-day drive for him. So he's getting old, right? So we kind of chalked this up to being, one of the last times we'd probably all be together like we were.
Right.
So Saturday night, my dad texts me. He goes, "What are you up to?" And I was, "Well, I just got, I'm just hanging out at home. I'm not doing nothing."
Right.
Well, we're going to go out for a little while in Winneconne. Now, Winneconne is where I went to school. It's like a population of like 1,200 people, the entire town. My graduating class was probably like 10 people. No, I'm just kidding. It was more than that. But
there was 14.
So just to get an idea of how small this little town is.
Right.
So we're out at the bar. My grandpa's having a few drinks, and Soulja Boy comes on. Crank that, at Devin Hester, right?
Right.
And at this bar, they have like plywood on the pool table. So there's like a couple guys up there, a couple girls that are doing like this outrageous rendition of the dance, right?
Yeah.
And my grandpa, he's just dancing by himself in this little corner. And I pull my phone out and I'm like just recording him because I think it's the funniest thing.
Right.
And he sees me and he goes, and I was like, "Go out there and dance." And he goes, "Well, if I go out there, I'm gonna take my clothes off." Like, I'm like, "Yo, Grandpa, you gotta chill. Your heart can't take that.
Grandpa, you can't say things like that out loud.
Right. Your heart can't take that, man." No, my grandpa's he's the shit. I was gonna do a pop-up
I don't know
episode.
though. I mean, segueing to some other allegations that have been going on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Man's in his 70s and is apparently still inappropriately laying the pipe. So
that's true. Vince has been accused of paying hush money to a female performer to have an affair with her and then passing her off to his best friend.
Oh my gosh, I did not realize that part.
That's what the allegations are. And listen, so when this whole sport court idea started, I wanted to talk serious sports topics. similar,
Right.
sport court, right? I wanted to
Right.
do things like this. And I've talked about the Blackhawks scandal with their sexual assault. I got the pleasure of talking with Sarah Spain from ESPN about that. And,
Right.
it's not a funny topic. This whole
No,
Deshaun
it's
Watson
not.
thing is outrageous. But like
Right.
the idea, right? Because Vince plays a character on TV. And if anybody has watched wrestling through the late 90s, early 2000s, I mean, Vince was his character was predominantly a womanizer and just over the
Right.
top, like machismo, I'm the man, and this and that. Like,
Right.
but then to have this come out, it's like, oh well, art imitates life, they say, right? And
Exactly.
it really definitely did there.
No, it
I
did.
don't know
And
how
I
he
wasn't
comes
I
back from
wasn't
this.
trying to make a joke of the
No,
situation.
I
It's
know.
an
I know.
unfortunate
It is funny
situation, to say
because
the
like he's
least.
so old. You don't
But-
expect it at this point in his life for that to happen, but like
No, and it's very serious. I mean,
Right.
he's stepped down as the CEO
Yep.
of WWE, although he's still going to have creative control, from what I understand. So, does it really matter? No.
I mean, technically no, but like if he's not in the building, how is he going to stop anybody from doing anything?
Right.
You know what I mean?
They said he was going to introduce his brother Ezekiel McMahon as the new CEO, but then ultimately Stephanie McMahon took over that role.
Yo, real quick.
Go ahead.
During Monday Night Raw, listen, I have not watched wrestling much since WrestleMania, and I usually only watch WrestleMania because it's WrestleMania. But the Ezekiel story right now in the WWE is hands down the best thing this company has done in 15 years. Because it's
The best
so
thing-
blatantly
it's so dumb.
Yes, but that's why it's the best, because it's so blatantly obvious that it's completely
The same.
what Kevin
person.
Owens is right. But because he plays it so serious, and then you have a guy like Kevin Owens who is like the comedic relief because it's just stressing him out and
Yeah.
it's making the crowd feel it a little bit more. I think it's one of the best, funniest things going on right now. And realistically, like as a wrestling fan, that's what it is. Wrestling's entertainment, and
Right.
it
No,
definitely
it's-
entertains me.
It's definitely unfortunate to see this allegation come out against Vince, and it'll be cleared through the justice. Well, I don't even know if it's a criminal or anything like that at this point. It's just an internal investigation, but the investigation will be done, and what's right will prevail on that
Hopefully.
note. Hopefully, but switching it up, man. Chicago Bears, have you been watching any of the tape of training camp?
So
Or, I'm sorry,
I
minicamp,
used to
I
I
guess.
used to hang on every video that people posted about minicamp. And then I went through the 2018, 19, 20 Bears. And it just
And
killed
you
my
lost
spirit.
hope, didn't
Yeah,
you? You
it
lost
killed my
hope.
spirit in the team. I posted the other day on Twitter that the Chicago sports is where I got trust issues from in life, and I hold that true still.
No, I absolutely understand. Like, as much of a joke as that is, it's hard being a Chicago sports fan, man.
Yeah.
Our biggest memory as Bears fans, I wasn't alive to watch the 1985
Me either.
Super Bowl win. So
Allen might have been.
yeah, Alan's an old guy, but anyway. No, I wasn't around for the 85 Bears, right? So the biggest memory that I have as a football fan is watching Devin Hester run back the game opening kickoff in the Super Bowl only to lose to Peyton Manning. So it's just like
remember
that's the best moment. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you've got for me, Bears. But
I
I
mean,
still buy tickets. I
the
still
first
go
half
to
of Sunday
games.
Night Football of Khalil Mack's first game was pretty good too. And then
Yeah,
Aaron
because you
Rodgers
thought
came
it was
out.
going to be that way every year, or for a long time at least.
I thought it was going to be that way for the rest of the game at least.
And yeah, second half it was a different story.
Yeah.
But Aaron Rodgers, man,
That dude's
you bring-
goofy.
since you bring the guy up, he is very goofy. Doesn't like his family. Couldn't get along with his hippie girlfriend. It's
Number
just,
one wide receiver left for Derek
Yep.
Carr. Like that's
I heard
embarrassing.
he already received a DUI. as soon as he got out there. That was a joke. But
Uh,
no, realistically, man, as a Bears fan, it's frustrating, right?
Yep.
Back to the original point, though, I've been watching some tape that the Bears organization's been putting out, and I like the mechanics that I'm seeing out of Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's still early, but that's the one big thing we've said time and time again is if Justin Fields has improvement this season and he shows you that he's the guy moving forward, then the season's a win. I don't care how many games you win.
Yep.
Although I think the Bears, I'm going to say this right now and you're going to call me crazy. I think the Bears win 10 games this season.
crazy.
Go ahead,
Carville,
rip me apart.
I gotta call somebody now to make a home visit to check and make sure you're okay. Because like
I am okay.
10
think-
wins,
10 wins.
man.
That team was a lot closer. Let me put it this way. That team was a lot closer than you think to even being a playoff team last year. Really, a few games that were decided by outcomes of 3 points. Coin flip, that game goes the other way. That team won 10 games last season. Obviously, they didn't.
I get it because the NFL is so, worst to first sometimes where like, there's always one team that was the worst that ends up the best, a surprise team.
Well, and I don't even think they're going to be a surprise team. I understand and I respect your opinion there, but I think what's going to happen is this team's going to come out early. Justin Fields is going to get some confidence with his receivers. He's in year 2 in a system that's going to much more favor him. You've got, I don't want to say elite talent in the running back room, but you've got 2 very solid running backs on this team. Obviously, David Montgomery's coming off a rest offseason, going to be healthy. And the wide zone run that Luke Getsy wants to run is going to be crucial to the success of Justin Fields. I mean, they've already shown the bootlegs, the play action rollouts that he's going to be doing just from what we've seen from minicamp. And it's like, okay, you're catering to his skill set, which, by the way, is what a good coach does. I said 2 years ago that was Matt Nagy's problem with Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
And last year I said it was his problem with Justin Fields. So cater to your players' strengths. That's what a good coach does.
2018 was fun. And then all of a sudden,
just
downhill, right? Not even like a slight decline. It was just like, oh, you walked right off the edge.
Like, oh, we're going to crash and burn.
Yeah,
this dumpster is officially on fire.
Matt Nagy was such a tool.
No, man. Anyways, let's quit being depressed Chicago sports fans for a second.
But that's what we do best.
That's what we do best. It's very easy to complain from our studios and not have to be out there on the field or coaching in the organization. But I think we had a topic at the beginning of the show that you mentioned that was our 3 favorite sports movies of all time.
Yep.
Now, we've got some clips here of your 3 favorite sports movies.
Yes, my 3.
I gave you
in no particular order.
I gave you a hint at the beginning of the show and said that one of those movies was also in my top 3. So,
all right, I'm going to play the clip.
Why don't you play the clip
right.
of the one that you think is also in my top 3, and we will go from there.
All right. So, no particular order. These are my favorite sports movies.
Okay.
Man. I think this is it, Kay.
What team do you play for?
Well, I'm a peach.
Well, I was just wondering, because I couldn't figure out why you would throw home when we've got a 2-run lead. You let the tying run get on second, and we lost the lead because of you. Now you start using your head. That's that love that's 3 feet above your ass. Are you crying?
No.
Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
Why don't you leave her alone, Jimmy?
Oh, you zip it, Doris.
That was not it.
Is it Sandlot?
I don't even know what movie that was, to be honest. I'm
what?
Just messing with you.
Oh my God. I was
it's not in my top 3, but
I love that movie. A League of Their Own. I don't know why. I just
it's
every
a
time
very
it's
good...
on, I'm like, I'll watch it.
It's a very good
fantastic.
flick. You kind of already alluded to what the next clip is that you're going to play, but yes, The Sandlot also made my list. So why don't you go ahead and play that clip?
There was only one night game a year. On the 4th of July, the whole sky would brighten up with fireworks, giving us just enough light for a game. We played our best then, because I guess we all felt like the big leaguers under the lights of some great stadium. Benny felt like that all the time. We all knew he was going to go on to bigger and better games, because every time we stopped to watch the sky on those nights, like regular kids, he was there to call us back. You see, for us, baseball was a game. But for Benjamin Franklin Rodriguez, baseball was life.
Absolutely. Hit the nail on the head on the second attempt there, Angie. The Sandlot is such a nostalgic movie for me, man. I remember, I believe I saw it in the theater when it first came out, and then it was just one of those VHSs that I owned that got constantly replayed as, I grew up. And it's something that if it's on TV, as with my two other picks that I'll share after you share your last, it's something that if it's on TV, I don't care what I'm doing, I sit down and immediately just gravitate towards the television. Like I've never seen it.
Right.
And Dennis
it's that
Leary's in
nostalgia
it.
feeling, man. You were a kid. You remember going out and playing baseball. I mean, for the longest time when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, that's what we did. The neighborhood kids, we all got together, went down to the park and home run derbies and games and
No, I'm right there with you.
Until the lights came on,
and I think that's where it holds a special place in both of our hearts because of our age and kind of the nostalgia there. Kids aren't going out and playing baseball like that anymore. I mean, they're all on travel teams from the time they're 6 or 7 years old. It's crazy now how young these kids play travel ball and just
and how expensive and
how expensive.
I'll say this: some of these kids are really good, but like
that they are. But I will say this also: like I get every parent wants to believe in their children, and of course, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But like, not every 8-year-old who is phenomenal at baseball at the 8-year-old level is going to become a major leaguer. And some of these parents just treat it way over the top, man. And it's almost negative.
At the umps.
It almost negatively affects their kids at that point because they don't want to let mom or dad down. So then they think they have to be this spectacular player and they can't just go out there and have fun. That was what I was alluding to is that movie is all about just going out, having fun with your friends and
being a kid,
playing a friendly game and being a kid. And that's,
they get into some trouble and
trying some chew for the first time and spitting it out.
Kissing a lifeguard.
Great
Such
film.
a good movie. My third movie that I picked, I played a little bit of high school basketball, and every night before a game, I watched this movie every single night. We had 2 games a week, so I'm watching it 2 times a week, the entire season, every season I played. Here's my number 3.
You said we're a team. One person struggles and we all struggle. One player triumphs, we all triumph, right?
I'll do some. I'll run suicides too.
Coach Carter, man.
Yeah.
I
love that movie.
Right after you cut that clip off, Samuel L. Jackson walks up and drops the first motherfucker of the entire movie. But in all seriousness, that is another phenomenal pick. Good job, Angie. You surprised me on this
man.
One, man. That's
honestly, I thought long and hard about this. I was gonna throw Rocky 4 in there, but I really only like Rocky 4 for like 20 minutes of the whole movie. The workout scene where he's getting ready to fight, and then after he fights Drago, when he gives his speech about if I could change, and he could change, and you could change, then maybe we could change. That's the
Man,
only part of that. That's the only part I like. But what are
Believe
your
it or
last
not,
two?
Rocky does not hold a special place in my heart. Adrian, I'm gonna go punch these dead cows and jog around the Bronx. Like to me it just doesn't
It's
do
Philly.
it.
It's Philly.
Oh, Philly, sorry.
Whatever. Close enough.
Listening to the Eye of the Tiger, like the first and second Rocky great, but like the whole later in the series there was
Fun fact. Did you know that the first Rocky was actually based off of a real life fight?
Really? I did not know.
Muhammad Ali and I forget the guy's name. But yeah, it's actually that's where Sylvester Stallone got the idea for that movie, was a fight that he had watched between Muhammad Ali and some other guy. That's why the Apollo Creed character is so loud and
Okay.
you know, he's just out there and flamboyant because that's how Muhammad Ali was.
So it didn't make my top 3, but my favorite movie involving fighting, ironically, is The Fighter.
Nice.
Tremendous film with Mark Wahlberg. True story, loosely based on a true story, I should say. And it's one that, for me, kind of got me into really liking boxing and understanding boxing when it came out, just because boxing's been going through a weird thing for a number of years, right? Where it's like the talent pool's there, then it's not. Guys like Mayweather are just at the top, beating up a bunch of scrubs, and I don't know.
You got the Paul brothers doing their
Do
thing.
we call them athletes? Do we recognize them as athletes?
So I mean, they're doing athletic things, and they are technically fighting, right?
I don't know.
But like, an exhibition fight. What is that? Like, could have you and I could.
We could have an exhibition fight.
We might not make.
Not that we're going
$50 million.
Neither of us are going to last 10 rounds.
No,
I can guarantee
definitely not.
that.
We'll just have to be 3 round. You know,
we'll be gassed and give up at the end of the second round. But and we got a comment from Brent here in the chat.
That's it. Yep, that's right.
Chuck Wepner was the boxer that inspired Rocky. Yep. Very cool story. But I'm going to go ahead and segue here to my. You know what? I'm going to give a different 3 movies just because we both talked about how great The Sandlot is, and I don't have clips, so we can just kind of talk about it. But
I know I just threw those on there right before the show started.
No, good call. Good call. So I'm going to start with Friday Night Lights for a similar reason to what you said about Coach Carter in your basketball playing days. When I played high school football, we literally made T-shirts that the slogan was "Put Booby in." Like, we watched after every game, we would sit and watch that film as a team and just soak it all in for an entire season. So it's another one of those sports movies that it holds a little bit of a nostalgic factor. So is it in the top 3 greatest sports movies of all time? No, we're not.
This wasn't about that. Right.
This is just our 3 favorites.
Right.
And to me, that's definitely got to be one of them. Again, we touched on The Sandlot for similar reasons. Just reminds you of being a kid going out there and playing and the nostalgia that brings to it. But I'm going to give you a couple other movies. One that I really enjoy is Moneyball. I just really like the story behind that. And I'm a huge Jonah Hill fan. Anything that Jonah Hill's in, I'll watch. And that's one of his more serious roles that he's taken on throughout his career. And obviously it's based on some real life events. So that makes it a little bit more interesting. But that's a film that helps you understand like the analytical and the really dollars and cents, so to speak, side of baseball. And it got me more interested in tracking things like scouting for up and coming players and things like that. So for that reason, I got to say Moneyball's a good film. It wouldn't have been in my 3, but since you stole The Sandlot from me, I'm just kidding. We can both have the nostalgia there.
That's the number 1 favorite between the 2 of us.
I would agree. That is the number 1 favorite for me. for me, it's the top movie. It's got to be. It's just, it's a phenomenal film. And like I said, no matter how many times it's on, I will sit down and watch it no matter what I'm doing. Even if it leads to me staying up till midnight doing homework because I sat and watched The Sandlot. That's happened recently. As you know, I'm got a full course load for school right now. So, and working.
And work and a dad.
A
So you're a busy guy.
Got a lot on the plate there for sure. And I got to give you one that's a little bit funny here. This is just a random off the wall pick. It's definitely not in my watching every single time it comes on. Blades of Glory with Will Ferrell. Have you seen this?
I was not expecting that to come out as one of these movies.
It's not in my top 3 again, but it's such a funny movie that, like, I love Will Ferrell as an actor. I personally like that sense of humor that he brings. Blades of Glory is just hilarious as a movie. He was also great in one of my favorite series of all time, Eastbound and Down, the Kenny Powers story. So I encourage all of our viewers, if you have not seen,
I like him in Elf.
If you have not seen Eastbound and Down, take the time to watch the 40 episodes or so of that show that were made, because it's absolute comedic gold. And it's loosely based on the life of John Rocker, who was pretty much a total douche, but Danny McBride.
I can relate to that.
Danny McBride plays it in a very comedic, hilarious way, and just the way that he goes about it, the things that he says throughout the entire series, the motivational tapes that he has, that you're fucking out, I'm fucking in, all those famous quotes from that show. Absolutely love it. So if you have not seen Eastbound and Down, I'm plugging that series that's 10 years old or so right now. Go ahead and go out there and watch it, guys.
That's all right. I'm trying to convince people to watch The Sopranos. Like, if you haven't watched The Sopranos, you are...
I have definitely watched The Sopranos multiple times. It's a show that lives in my queue forever.
Ever.
If I need something to put on, it's a great filler.
Yep.
And
sometimes when I'm in a bad mood, I just throw on an episode and it's like, oh yeah, I just go crack somebody in the head with a lead pipe and feel a lot better.
Yeah. You can't.
I mean, I don't do that.
You can't, but you can
like
watch
watching him do it makes me feel better, at least.
Yeah, that's 2 series that live in my queue forever are that and Californication with Dave Duchovny. I absolutely love that show.
I've never.
Have you seen Californication?
No. That's on HBO Max. It's got to be, right?
I think
Showtime,
it's a Showtime.
I might have to get Showtime. Maybe I think
you're
gonna have to take a 7-day free trial or something.
I was gonna say you're gonna have to take a look and give that show a shot. It's hilarious.
We should do an episode of this, whatever, just talking about like fantastic TV series. I think that would be fun.
We could do that. We could switch topics.
Right.
And
it don't matter what we do.
This
is our platform.
Make it series court for a night or something.
We can talk about fishing one day if we wanted to. Really, like anything.
Hey, Chauncey's Great Outdoors does it, and he's actually one of the longest standing shows on ESPN. Funny fact.
Yeah, it's so crazy when I listen to ESPN 1000 and then I hear some of these guys talk about how, like, oh yeah, I was an intern for this, or back in the day this, and it's like, holy cow, they put in so much work back then, especially back then, because you didn't have YouTube or platforms like this. And I'm not saying I'm anybody, but like, it's easier for people to kind of break into the sports podcasting situation now. Whereas back then, like, you're with a tape recorder and a pen and pencil, right? Like, that's it's crazy to think people, old timey news. Hey guys, here's the story.
The great Les Grobstein, rest in peace, and his tape recorder.
Yeah, that's the story that everybody talks about.
The famous Lee Elliott rant that, like, I wasn't even alive for that, and I've heard that rant more times than I can count.
Yep.
That was true journalism. I mean, it really was. At its height, man. As you said, things are a lot different now with technology and our ability to freely be on the air and talk about these sports topics and these other goofy things, such as, you know, plugging Californication live on the air. Hopefully Showtime doesn't get at us, but
what are they gonna be mad? That show has been on 20 years, not that long, but
probably.
You know what?
10
I want your
years,
opinion on another sports movie real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love this movie. I could watch it anytime. Similar to Blades of Glory for you. The Water Boy.
Oh, The Water Boy.
I love that movie.
My mama said.
Fantastic.
My
I have
mama
a friend. I have a friend can't stand Adam Sandler.
Loves that movie.
I love that movie. No, they don't like that movie either. They just can't stand him. I mean, I'm not the biggest Adam Sandler fan.
Not to segue your argument here with The Water Boy, but Adam Sandler has another movie out that's about basketball now that
on Netflix
is supposed to be phenomenal. I haven't watched it yet, but maybe we'll talk about that during the next show.
We could.
But back to The Water Boy, man. That's another one. I'm a huge Adam Sandler fan. I love Adam Sandler, first of all. I should say I love pre-Netflix Adam Sandler, because most of his Netflix movies have been absolutely horrible. But
well, yeah, you just start doing stuff because you're getting paid to do it.
Right,
No real
exactly. Hubie's Halloween, nope, that's a no for me, dog. But anyways,
Randy Jacksoned him over here. That's
Randy
a no for me,
Jacksoned
dog.
him. But anyways, no, in all seriousness, The Water Boy, absolutely hilarious. Mama said clouds are rays of sunshine, or I don't even know.
He tackles the freaking professor because
no, you're wrong, Colonel Sanders. Yeah, anytime.
I love that movie.
Anytime that movie's on, I will stop and watch it as well.
Yeah,
I'm a sucker for sports movies in general, but The Last Dance, although it's not a movie, it's a series. That's another one, man. Anytime it's on, I don't care how many times I've watched it. It can be 20 minutes from the end or the start of an hour episode, and I will sit down and
just because Michael Jordan is so captivating.
Absolutely.
Right? Like what he did. And I know that obviously people are gonna be like, well, you're just biased because you're a Bulls fan. Yeah,
No.
but Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. You know what I mean?
Right.
It'd be the same thing if he was on
They're
the
doing a
Lakers.
similar series for Kobe, I believe, is what I'm hearing.
Nice.
Rest
That
in
would be
peace.
cool. Yeah.
I think Netflix is developing that, which will be awesome. It'll be
They
phenomenal.
did a good job with The Last Dance. So
I will watch it and enjoy it.
you remember when Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams posted that dumb shit about The Last Dance? Like, oh, The Last Dance, The Last Dance. And then they go and choke in the playoffs to the 49ers, like usual.
Yeah, and then Robbie Gould said "fuck the Packers" live on air and got fined for it, I believe.
That's all right. I get fined for that anytime. Anytime.
Yeah, that was great. And also Jimmy G, man, he's an Eastern Illinois guy, so
Yeah, Jimmy G, hell yeah.
and George Kittle loves the Bears.
That's right. When's his contract up? Sign him.
That's
Cole Kmet ain't it.
Whoa. How you doing,
Hot
Notre
take.
Dame boy?
Hot take over here.
Cole Kmet is not it. I'm gonna hold you to that. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna take a picture of you, crop the words "Cole Kmet ain't it" underneath of it, and every time he has a
word
good
bubble
play
right there.
during the season, I'm gonna pull it up on air and we're gonna pull that.
One
graphic
good
up.
play does not make a career.
No, it does not.
He has not.
Cole
I mean, he's
Kmet's
shown,
unproven.
This is what, his fourth season?
No,
Third?
second,
It's his
third.
It's his
Third. You're right.
It's his third. Yeah,
Okay, it's
usually
his
by,
third, but
usually by year two, you see.
but
a
he
little
had
bit of a
Matt
jump for
Nagy
tight
as a
ends.
coach. This is what
I know, and that's the shitty part about this whole
Patrick
team.
Mahomes might look like dog shit next year because Matt Nagy's his offensive coordinator. You never
Bro,
know. Highly
watch-
unlikely, but
Watch the Chiefs win a Super Bowl and then Matt Nagy get another head coaching job and just screw it completely up again.
that
would happen.
absolutely could happen. Although I am most interested, not to segue more here, I'm most interested to see
We're just riding segues right now. That's how much we're all over
what
the place.
does Mitchell Trubisky do for the Pittsburgh Steelers, or is he even the starter week 1?
I mean, I think he starts 4 games at least. Like,
You think he gets the Glennon treatment and just
I
has a
think-
very, very short leash?
I don't know. I don't think. I think he has tools. I don't think he was the best. Obviously, having Nagy as his coach didn't help at all.
Right.
Especially when your coach ghosts you for a meeting that you guys were going to talk about to discuss the improvements needed on the offense. And your coach is like, nah, I'm going to go on vacation instead. I won't even call you and tell you I'm not at my office. Just going to let you show up there. Like,
I know absolutely no one in the Kansas City media, but I would love to have Matt Nagy on our show for all of 2 minutes that he would stay before I pissed him off.
Yeah. Dude, he ain't coming. No. We tried to find the whys and it just wasn't happening. Yeah. Why are you still employed?
Yeah. Why are you still employed? Why'd you try to fit a fucking square peg into a round hole, buddy? That's what I would ask him.
He did the same thing with Justin Fields, though.
Exactly.
Like that first game Fields played, he got annihilated by the Browns.
He didn't change the game plan. He gave him the Andy Dalton game plan. But,
I feel like every time we do a show, it
always
go back
goes
to the
back
Bears.
To Matt Nagy.
And it just pisses me off. Like,
it does.
It's always.
So let's wrap it up there on the Bears talk, because this was a good show, man. It was fun to jump in and talk with you. We went over a lot of topics here. We had some good interaction in the chat tonight, so we definitely appreciate you guys sitting in with us. As always, Angie, it's phenomenal when we get together and do a show. We got to get a little more consistent here, but as you said, life happens, things happen, and man, all of us here.
There's a lot of stuff happening right now.
Have a lot
we just
going
gotta,
on.
we got a new show that's
gotta...
supposed to start up here pretty soon for you wrestling fans.
And
I'd love at Undefeated Sports. We're looking for, a couple more voices.
Absolutely.
I want to get a nice basketball show with some people that that's their thing. Like football, I could talk football all day.
Some people know basketball better than I do. Right. Is that what you're saying, Angie?
Well, you and Vince together talking some hoops. You guys are good.
We do know some basketball, but no, football is my favorite sport.
Right. The Bears hold a special place in my heart, and always.
I could talk the Bears for 3 or 4 hours and not get tired of it. I talk them.
I'd get mad. I'd get mad, but
I get frustrated, but
I
don't get tired of it. But with that being said, guys, we appreciate you sitting in with us. As I said, thank you for joining us here tonight on the Undefeated Sports Network. Angelo, any last words for our guests before we call this show a wrap?
No, I think it was fantastic.
I agree. Thanks, guys, for listening. We will see you again very soon. Be sure to subscribe and like all of the pages. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We are on Twitter and Twitch. Follow us. Stay subscribed so you don't miss what's going on here at the Undefeated Sports Network. As you said, we've got some big things in the works. Some announcements coming real soon regarding a wrestling show that we are going to be bringing to life here on the Undefeated Sports Network.
Kind of like The Undertaker. We're going to be bringing it to life.
I like what you did there.
Tied it
all right, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll see you soon.